This is Ray with School of Racing Graphics, and in this video tutorial we're going to go through this dirt late model, help make the numbers more readable and functional within this dirt late model wrap, talk about the background graphic, and then what we will do for placeholders since this wrap design was not provided with any sponsors or anything. So if you are not familiar with our Facebook group, it's the School of Racing Graphics Facebook group. We're giving feedback on design, so you can post your designs, and there's a community of people there that will give you feedback, tips, and tricks on how to make your wrap designs not only more aesthetically pleasing, but also function as a solid piece that's readable from beginning to end and easy to decipher what's on the wrap when it's at the racetrack. So if you're not familiar with that group, you can see it here. It's called School of Racing Graphics. We currently have 314 members. Simple as this. You post your design. People give feedback. About once every 2 to 3 weeks, I'll go through and I'll pick one out and I'll ask for it, and I'll make a video like this one and give the feedback on the design that I think subjectively will help make the wrap more functional at the racetrack. So let's dive into this dirt late model. It was provided as is. The designer just said, you know, he's a new designer, so he's pretty new to design in general, and he just said, you know, I don't really know where to go from here. I don't know how to make this better, but he's just not pleased with the result that he's come up with. So I do want to say right off the bat, the designer was using some of our graphic kits. So number set 14, Vector Starter Kit or Starter Pack 3, and Vector Screen Pack 5, and you can see this is what we consider a screen. It's Vector, but you got some see-through stuff, and it's a pattern. And then this is obviously the number set, and then the graphic is from Starter Kit or Starter Pack 3, and that's what this graphic is here. So everything's pretty well used straight out of the box. So we're going to go through, make some edits, talk about best practices and the best way to move forward with these particular elements. In these videos, I'm not attempting to take the design and be more creative with it or take it into a really a different direction. I'm trying to be honest to the elements that already exist and stay consistent with what the designer was attempting to accomplish with the graphic assets. You can see I got this set up on the SRGFX XR1 dirt late model template. Right now I have all the shadows and light layers turned off, so when you turn them on, there you go. So I'm going to be referencing back and forth that template as well, because I like to see how my graphics are lining up with a car as it looks, as it sits on the tires and like that in the more realistic setting. It's a little bit more satisfying to be able to look at your work that way and know that it's the direction it's going in its final form. But I do work on it on just a base canvas like this one. Now I'm not working to real size. I never do that in these videos. If you want to take my course, Mastering Race Wraps, I talk about sizing, increments, and all that kind of stuff. I don't cover that in these videos. So I'm just basically working in screen increments, which is pixels. So a little bit of guesswork. And so don't use the things that I'm showing as far as increments go in these videos, because I'm not really covering that in detail. I'm more so just talking about the aesthetic and the function of the wrap design itself. All right, so first thing I want to talk about is I always, when I'm starting to wrap design, I never even think about the graphic. I'm not even considering the graphic. The graphic is almost always an afterthought to me. And so I'm first going to think about the sponsors and the number actually being the most important thing that I typically work with. So what I did is I just took some placeholders because he didn't provide any sponsors. So these are just some of my sponsors I made up. They're fake. They're not real. And I'm just putting them in place because these are the general positions that you're going to see sponsors in on a dirt late model. And then I have some contingency stuff down here that we might plug and play with later as we get the wrap design in its final form. So moving forward, really the big thing that I see here on this particular wrap design is the number and how many elements that we have going on. So I cover this in almost every video. I call it a contrast sandwich, where We have unnecessary contrast happening on one design element, making it really hard for your eye to see and differentiate between what's important and then what is supposed to be playing a supporting role to the number or the sponsor or even the graphic. And you've heard me say this in almost all of the other videos, the most important part of the number is always the number itself. And so everything after that should be supporting making the number readable, so that when you're at the track, it's easy to see it on both sides of the car. It's easy to see when it's coming out of turn 2, and you're sitting in turn 4, that you can look across the track and at least know that it's a number of some kind. Sometimes that doesn't always work out, but some cars are really crisp and you can see what number it is from anywhere at the track. Some cars look like a blob. There's a blob number, so it's like a blob or a box or whatever, and so that's what we try to avoid the best we can. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take this number and I'm just going to pick it apart. I'm going to ditch basically everything that was provided here, but I am going to reference it back because I do want to stay committed to his style. I'm not trying to deviate again or get really creative as far as get my own idea going, but I do want to honor what it is that he was trying to do here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unskew this and just get it back to some form of base shape. So it looks like it's about negative 18, maybe 17, maybe 16. And I probably won't be able to get it perfect. It looks like he tweaked it a little bit. And then I know, because I created this number set, that these numbers were actually created a little bit wider. So I'm going to pull it back out. And you could tell, especially by the corners, that it was really squeezed in because they looked really condensed here. So I'm going to just, by my eye, pull that back out a little bit. Now, placement on these dirt late models is pretty key because, you know, depending on your sponsor, like what sponsors you have on the car, like if I got a smaller sponsor here on the door, for instance, and it's just taking up this little space here, I move my number closer to the front, more into the middle of the door. So if it's a 99, I'm going to put it, you know, somewhere about right here. And I have actual increments that I would use and margins that I would set up. I don't do that in these videos, but I would put it closer to the middle of the door because I've got more space to float. So this will be a smaller sponsor and it would balance out the wrap design. But because I have a bigger sponsor here, and that's by my own choice, I'm actually going to keep the number actually closer to the back of the door. And so in this instance, it'll be closer back here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I just want to get these numbers into a solid color so I can kind of look over everything that I'm working on. All right, so we're going to knock these out. And these aren't even, I'm not exactly sure what he did here with this number. So it looks like there's like some extra pieces. I'm actually going to delete one, clean up this one, ungroup it. So yeah, we got like an extra piece here. It's creating all kinds of a mess. All right, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to knock this out, and then I'm going to ditch that. And it's really important in Illustrator to learn those shortcuts so you can click through what tool that you want to use easily. So especially when you're using the pen tool, like I am always going back it's called the direct select tool. So you can see direct selection tool. You can see it shows you the shortcut right there. It's an A. So you just hit A. And then this is the selection tool, which is V, and that's going to select the whole thing. So A, it's going to select, you can select just nodes, right? Or vertices, whatever you want to call them. And then V, you will select the entire object. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock that with Command 2. And then I'm going to select that little extra thing he's got there, delete that out. Select that extra thing he's got there, delete that out. I think he's got another one, delete that out. Okay, now I'll go to unlock all. And you can see now we have a nice clean. Nope, still there, still more there. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on in there. And so this is part of some of the problem too with these types of designs, or especially with somebody who's just starting out, is they're adding things in. They don't really know they're adding things in. It's probably done by accident. But you got all this random stuff. So I'm not going to pick through that. What I'm going to do is take my 9 and I'm going to bring it over here, lock it with Command 2, lock the background, select all this, and just hit delete. That's the easiest way forward. And now I'm going to unlock the 9. And now I have a nice clean 9. We got pretty close to back to base. Not quite, but we're close enough. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate my 9. I just held down the Option key to duplicate that. So click, hold down Option, drag, get a duplicate. Or if you're on PC, you'll hold down the Alt key. All right, so now that I got my 99 cleaned back up, I also need this Copley deal here. And so it looks skewed. I'm actually going to unskew that the best I can. It might even be better to just start over. -30. Let's try this. Yeah, -25. So I'm going to say 2 more degrees. Shear, -2. Like that. That looks pretty good. I think got us back to base, or at least, if not, back to base pretty close. And I'll just select that color there just so I can see it and I know it's there. Okay, so now the thing to really talk about is the graphic, because we know what the car is going to look like as far as colors, color setup, color scheme. And the way he sent it to me, or the way he posted it in the group, it looks like we got a white nose, white plastic, everything's white on the car, but we have this big black graphic here at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to have to figure out a way to kind of get that to flow through the rest of the design. So I typically don't like if a car is black or got white plastic to like run a color up to it unless it looks intentional in the design, right? So I typically would want the bottom of my graphic to match whatever this white color is here, or if it was black, to be black, so that it looked like it flowed all as one piece. Just a lot easier to design that way. So I'm going to come back over here, take a look at what we got, and I'm going to start off first with skewing the number, kind of finding out what kind of space we have. So I like to start with 25, and I might increase it later. A lot of guys live and die by 25, and they think that 25 is the best. There's no reason to go over. I tend to disagree. I think you can go up to 35 depending on the number, the font, how messy it is, how clean it is, if it's a double-digit number, if it's a single-digit number. If you look at the Russ Wheeler car from Days of Thunder, it's like at like a 38, something real intense. You just want to make sure it's readable. That's the most important thing. But depending on the number and the digits and all that, you can there's room to play there. So I'm going to start with 35, and I might increase it later. Now I want to make sure I'm going to leave room down here for contingencies and other sponsors and things like that. And even if they're not going to be a part of the wrap design, assume that the owner of the race car is going to want to put decals on the car, right? So you got to kind of account for that space the best you can. Now, something that I like to do, something that every designer should like to do, is always, always, always parallel your number to the top of the door. So typically when I'm designing, and I'm actually working with body panels that are as accurate as possible, the body panel starts and it's 100% flat. It's zeroed out, right? There's no rake in it at all. So in this one, you can see there's like, I don't know, a few degrees of rake in it. And that's because we're matching up to the presentation template, right? Not to the print template. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, for the sake of the presentation, I'm going to actually tilt this. There's actually a way to do this too, where you're not doing it in a destructive way. Under effects, I always forget because I don't do this very much. Distort and transform. I think transform, and then yeah, you can rotate it however many degrees. So I'll show you what I mean here. So you can go effect, distort and transform, and then you can say transform, and I think it's probably like I don't know. Let's try 5. See what happens. Nope. First thing I got to do is group these together. So effect, and then transform. Let's try 3. Preview it. And I'm just eyeballing right now, so let's try 2. Okay, like that. And you can see my red outline is showing something very different from what my distort and transform is showing, right? So, and before I just rotated it by eye and left it, I'd be stuck with that number. But because I did it using the effect menu, now I can go over here to my appearance and I can click transform and I can come in and change it. So I can go 1.5. So there's a 1.5 degree rake on that particular part of the car, and now I'm matched up, and I'm just doing it by eye. It's not anything official. So if I was designing on like official body panels, that would just be a flat line. I would match up to it, and then if there was going to be rake, I would actually put the rake in the bottom of the panel for my wrap panels, and that's probably all confusing. I'm not even trying to cover that actually right now. You can take my Mastering Race Wraps course if you want to, and we cover a lot of those types of things. Okay, so I'm going to move this down, and then something that I like to do, not every designer does this, but it's my preference to do this, is to actually tweak the bottom of this so that now I got the top matching the top of the door, and then the bottom matches the bottom of the door, which right here happens to be flat, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring down a guide just so I have a reference point. Especially when you're doing things by eye, you need to have like a true reference point. And then I'm going to hit E. And E brings this little menu up here that lets you free distort, right? So I'm going to grab that, and then you can see I can take this corner here, and I could tweak the number however I want to get it to line up. But you got to be careful here because you can make some errors that actually ruin the number, because as I'm pulling it to be flat, it's actually making the number narrower at the bottom and bigger at the top, right? And that's kind of a problem. And so I need to make sure as I'm flattening it out, I'm actually pulling it out to keep it as true as possible. And that's a little bit of a feel thing as you're designing. There's not, I don't think, a way to do it where it's like exactly perfect. I can come back in again. So you got to just be able to see that by your eye, and you just train your eye to do it by doing it more and more, right? You just get better at it the more that you do it. Okay. So I'm going to tweak that just a little more. And this is just my preference. Some guys don't do that. They don't align their numbers at the bottom of their door, and that's fine. It's not bad practice. It's just not my preference. Now, I will say this. On some cars, some numbers don't look good when you do it. You got to just kind of leave it as is. But again, it's kind of a case-by-case basis there. Keep playing with it. See, the real trouble I'm running into is I've rotated that and I left it a live rotation so that I didn't have a destructive workflow, but now it's harder to get a consistent bead on what I'm trying to do down here. I think that looks pretty good. I probably could move it a little bit more. Depends on how picky you are. I'm pretty picky, so I'm going to keep playing with it. Did I overdo it? Yeah. All right, I don't want to spend an entire video you watch me nudge stuff around, so we're gonna be done. I would do it better if I was sitting here and this was gonna be an official wrap design. So, and the other thing I do too with these videos, if you like the design that I did, if you're the designer, you could buy this off of me. I'll send you the file. You just throw me $50 and I'll send you the work that I did in the video to help you move your project along. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is zoom out a little bit. Now this is how you know you're going the right direction, right? Because you got your initial pieces that are required, your sponsors, your number. These are your most important pieces in the wrap design. And if it looks solid at just this base level, you know you're going the right direction, right? But if it kind of looks crappy already, like you're only decorating garbage. And so we don't want to decorate garbage. We're not, trying to make something that that doesn't look good, halfway decent. We want to start in a good place. So you'll know right away, oh, this number works. It looks kind of rad. The sponsors are lining up. Everything kind of flows together. As I made these sponsors up, I kind of have the benefit of I skewed them and they match the skew of the number that I chose, that kind of a thing. The same with this, but your skews don't always have to match. Your sponsors are always going to be different based on the client, based on their sponsorship, things like that. So don't get too worked up over everything matching perfectly. This is the driver's brand, right? The number is the driver's brand. This is the sponsor's brand, right? This is the sponsor's brand. And it's your job to try to make all three of those things, or 4 or 7 or however many, work together the best that you can, right? But you gotta work with what they give you. You can't just make up your own thing. Okay, so we got that started, And I think everything's pretty solid. We'll probably move that around. It's really bothering me. There's a little more space here than here. I might fix that later. But for now, we're going to focus on the graphic itself. Okay. All right. So this graphic, and like all SRGFX graphics, are created to be able to be used universally, right? You can use any edge, anywhere, on any part of the car. So like I could put this down here, and then I know that's going to get cut off, and like duplicate it, throw another one right here. Now, obviously, this isn't exactly how I would move forward with this, but there's a lot of different ways to use it, right? You don't have to just use it one way. You can play with it, right? Do things like that. Kind of see. Throw it behind. Let me see. I think I got these on a different layer here. No? Yeah, here we go. Graphics. Okay. All right. And so I can play with it how I want. Now you can see like this is kind of messy and it doesn't really make sense. So I am always trying to make the graphic itself make sense. Like things fit in with each other. The number is still readable. There isn't things cutting through it. Now obviously we haven't done anything to the number yet to separate it out from the background along with the sponsors. So that's always going to help. Sometimes I like to take the graphic and just play with it and see what it looks like if I place it in weird spots on the car. But the idea is that the graphic is universal. I could use it on a dirt modified. I can use it on a truck. I can use it on a NASCAR. I can use it on whatever I want to use it on. But I need to always be prepared to edit it. I'm never thinking I'm taking this thing out of the box and I'm just going to slap her on there. And this is a mistake I see a lot of guys make, is they're just like, yeah, I got the graphic. And then they just take it and, you know, stretch it in the middle of the car like this, and then that's it. Like, job's done. Yeah, job's not really done. There's still work to be done. Now, is this going in a good direction? I think it's going in a solid direction, but we can actually do a lot of work to help fix this up. Now, one of the problems that I'm having with this, so let me back up because I want to always be able to get back to referencing what the original designer did here. I accidentally stole the graphic out of there. All right, so let's grab that guy, throw it down into the graphics layer like that. Okay, so now we got this guy down here. So we got a few different choices that we're going to make because we know the car is going to be split. If we're going to honor the designer's design, right, we got a red graphic running through the middle, black on the bottom, white on the top. And so there's a few different things that can happen here. To me, it's kind of 50-50. I'm choosing the color of my number, right? And so what color dominates most on the car? My personal opinion is on this car, white is actually what sticks out most. Now, some of you are going to get nerdy and say white is not a color. I don't care to have that argument. The idea is that most of this car is white and it stands out that way. Okay, so now black is probably second, and then third, red. And red would probably be considered what we would consider being the branding color, right? Okay, so what is going to make my numbers and sponsors stand out the most? Well, based on how he's wanting to lay out the graphic, I am wanting to do opposite. So you can call it in graphic design knocking out, right? We're going to knock out a sponsor in the white using the opposite color of the white, which is black, and that's what's going to help it be the most. That's what's going to help it to stand out the most, right, on the car. So there's different ways to think about it. Or you can think, well, the red is running up halfway through the number. You got black on the bottom. You got white on the top. It could be that it's a white number with a black outline, and that will be really solid too, right? And so it's kind of a little bit of a 50-50. So in my opinion on this car, the number should actually be black to help it stand out. Because right now, when I look at what was originally designed here, I see a lot of the same, right? So you got this shape and this shape over here, black, white, red, and then it's kind of like in here, things get lost, right? And then down here, you're getting a little bit more contrast because you got this white overlapping on the black, but there's still just a lot going on. And so what we want to do is just make sure that we're making this stand out more than anything else on the wrap design. So regardless if the graphic is black, red, white, whatever, this is the guy that's drawing your attention, right? So you want to make that the main component to your wrap design. Okay, so I'm going to select this, and for now, just for the sake of making this easy, because this has been irritating me long enough, I'm going to go ahead and apply this appearance. So I think actually go Object, Expand Appearance. And so now that rotation has been expanded, and I can come in here and edit this because it was really bugging me that was just like that little gap there. All right. I just want that to be slightly more consistent, right? So from here to here, it's running like the same height. It's just drawing my eye and really bothering me. All right, so I'm going to move the graphic out of the way right now because I'm thinking black number, not white number. Now, we could try both and see which one works, and it comes down to your opinion, really, not what's not like, hey, this is the way that it has to be. It doesn't have to be this way. This is just my preference and what I think is going to be most helpful. So I'm going to take the graphic over here, move it for now, and I'm going to start constructing what I want the number to actually look like. Okay. And I like to do this in Illustrator using the appearance panel and use the least amount of strokes as possible, but actually use all fills and then use the effect layer or the effect option to expand them, or it's called offsetting, so that later when we want those shapes, it's really easy to get to them. Okay, so I'm going to take this fill here, which is the black one, and I'm going to duplicate it. Let's say let's go 4 times. Let's go 5 times. All right. And so now what I want to do is I'm always thinking build it in a way that's flattering to all of the areas of contrast. All right. So I'm going to zoom in here. And this isn't a criticism on the designer. I'm not trying to degrade him in any way, but as a beginner, sometimes this is a mistake that's made quite often, is we've got what I call the contrast sandwich. So we got white, then we got black, then we got red, we got a little bit of silver, then we got black again, then we go back to white. And so it's really hard. It's actually really confusing to the eye to know where am I going? What's most important? How do I read this, right? So we want to make it most readable. And I would say the best way to learn how to do this is to study sign painters and how they operate with simplicity, and then they embellish, right? And so that's what we want to do. We want to embellish it without ruining it. Okay, so I'm going to go back in to my 99, but I've decided to make it black instead of white. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually make a red. I want to make a red outline on it. So I'm going to turn my second fill red, which is my red color here, and then I'm going to take my first fill and I'm going to offset it. So I'm going to go to Effect, Path, Offset Path, and I'm going to go -1 pixel because I'm working in screen size right now. Okay, now you can see you got a nice red, and maybe that's a little too thick, so let's go -0.5 pixels, right? And this is something we can play with because we can come back to it. So I'll go -0.75 pixels because I'm that picky kind of guy. All right, I'm going to do that. Okay, so now I have my base shape is actually the red one. That was my base number, right? So I've now thinned out the black just a little bit, 0.75 pixels. And now what I'm going to do is take this one, and I'm going to drag my offset path down to the third fill, which is black, and I'm going to drop it on there. And if you use the Alt key while you're dragging, it makes a duplicate, drags it down there so that you don't have to go back to the menu and apply it again, right? So all of our stuff is right here. Now all I have to do is change my increments. But instead of going negative, now I'm expanding out, and I'm going to go positive. So let's try 0.75 pixels, okay? And you can see this is what I mean by a contrast sandwich, right? We're getting red, we got black, then red, then black. Now, here's a way to think about it. Somebody who's colorblind had actually taught me this, so it's super helpful, is that red and black, especially for a colorblind person, is really difficult to differentiate because their saturation values are really close to each other. So when you put black on red or red on black, it's really difficult to read. So black on white is good, red on white is good, black on white is good, outlined in red is good because it still keeps it crisp and readable. But as soon as you start adding more colors and elements that are not complementing that, you end up with a contrast sandwich where my darkest portion of contrast is being brought back after the red. That's a problem. So that's not what we want to do anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and take that black there, and I'm going to turn it into a light gray color. So for now, let's go over here. I'm going to actually create a swatch. We'll just turn it this color gray for now. Okay, now you see what I mean? We added that little detail. It looks really nice. It makes the red more punchy, and it makes the black really punchy, right? And that's really what we're after. Okay, so I'm going to take that guy there, and I'm going to call it our final. Now let's just call it silver outline, something unique, right? Like that. Okay, so we'll do that. And I want it to be global. So if I change it, it changes everywhere. And I want it to be a process color, but I want it to be grayscale. Okay. And then I can scale it up and down according to what I want, right? So I can go, sometimes I don't know why Illustrator does this. It might be because I'm working in RGB instead of CMYK. It'll switch it out of RGB, or switch it out of grayscale and back to RGB. I don't know why it does that. So I don't know. Sometimes I just switch it back. Okay, so here we go. Now we got the black, we got the red, we got the gray. But if I start entering in this guy, I'm still not getting the contrast that I need. So what we're doing is we're building something that is helping that black really pop out, right? But we don't want to just go straight from black to white. We want to embellish it, make it look better, introducing the branding colors, but without overdoing it, right? But we're definitely not going to go back and forth. We're not going to do like a black, red, gray, then black again. You just never do that. Like this is a huge no-no in the lettering world. It's just not recommended. You might see guys do it every once in a while, and it may look good. I just don't recommend it. I don't ever see a reason to do it. Okay. So now I'm going to go back here, and because my number is black, and that's what the attention is being drawn to, and I'm trying to create separation between my background graphic and my number, my next outline needs to be white, and it needs to be the most predominant on the number. Okay. So I'm going to go now down to my fifth fill, or fourth fill. What do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, fourth fill. Okay, and I'm just going to turn that one into a white color. I want to make a new swatch, though, one that I'm not using yet, so that if I change it, it's not changing something else in the design. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this guy, and I'm going to call this graphic white. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and apply that here. But first, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to slide it all the way down like that. Okay, and then I'm going to apply that there. And then I am going to duplicate my offset path by holding down the Alt key, dragging, dropping, bam, there it is. And I'm going to go, let's go 3 pixels and see what it looks like. There we go. So you can see it's kind of light to look at. So I'm going to do you a favor, and I'm going to darken this guy up a little bit just so we can see what we're working on. Okay, so here we go. Now, one thing, there's a couple of things to pay attention to here. Is what's going to happen in these gaps right here. What's going to flow behind them? Is it going to create confusion in the design? And this gap right here. Is this gap right here consistent with the overall number outline? I would say this is thicker. So this should match whatever's happening here. It's a common mistake guys make is they take their numbers and they butt them right up next to each other, real thin, like it's a real thin line there, and then it looks like just one big blobby block that doesn't make sense to anything, right? And so you don't want to do that. You want to keep a nice gap. And usually I have increments that I work in, so like a minimum 1.5 inches, 2 inch, whatever. It's not typically by eye. It's typically very intentional. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to increase this guy here by double-clicking my offset path again, and then going to, what was I, 3 pixels? So let's try 4 pixels. Okay, like that. And that to me looks a little bit more consistent, and I think better overall to what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So now I'm going to go back to my body color there, and you can see the white there. And now when I start sliding my graphic around, the graphic is not impeding on the number, right? The number is still readable no matter where I put the graphic. I can slide it anywhere, and I'm thinking there's enough separation there. Now, there's a couple more things I could do here, and I'm going to do them. So I can now increase this offset, or I could take this offset path, and I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to increase it 1 pixel. Okay, so what did we do? We did 4, so let's go 5. All right, So now you can see, all right, again, this is a common mistake I see designers make. They build a beautiful number and then they put some garbage on it like this. This is not what we want to do. It's not helping us. It's not helping the number. It's not making anything more readable. It's only making it actually more difficult to read. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to actually go back, but I'm only going to go back one step. So it's subtle and it's elegant, right? I know some of you guys are probably bothered by me using the word elegant, but it's important when you're thinking about design. You need to think through the finer details of your design so that they present well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the black here, and I'm going to, again, reintroduce the silver color, right? So you would think, Ray, you said don't do a contrast sandwich, but this is not necessarily a contrast sandwich. This is bringing back the branding color in a subtle way that really helps separate the numbers so that when I zoom out, right, I don't see that, right? That's not really standing out. The black 99 is standing out. When I zoom in, oh, I have these cool details that I'm working out, right? Okay, so let's see. Is that the same? Is this one the same? What do we got here? It doesn't say. Just let me hang there. Cool. Oh, okay. So that's not this. There we go. All right. So now going back, there's another thing I can do, and that is I can create a drop shadow, right, on this using white. Now, I typically don't. I'm not a big fan of this. I see it a lot. You can do it. You don't have to do it. It depends on your preferences, I guess. But putting a white drop shadow on things, typically drop shadows are drop shadows. They're darker. But in this instance, I'll at least show you what you can do so you have options to work with. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and on this fill, I'm going to add an effect. And that effect is going to be called, you guessed it, drop shadow. So we're going to go to Effects, Path, Offset Path, no. I always forget, Stylized. There it is, drop shadow. And so what you're going to do is you're going to hit Preview, and it's going to look something like that. It's actually going to look something like this. Nope. Like this. Something like that, okay? And so to harden up the drop shadow, you just type in 0, okay? Then leave it at normal. Turn your opacity to 100 unless you want it to be somewhat transparent. I'm not trying to get this dark shadow right here right now because I'm actually still trying to make sure this white is creating separation. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this the white color. Now in Illustrator, this is not intuitive, so you got to hit color swatches. And you might have like hundreds of swatches in here. Luckily, mine's showing up right here. But you could just type the name of your swatch if you were responsible enough to name it. And click Graphic White. And then click OK. Bam. Now we got our white shadow. But we've got this gray outline here and not here. So what do? Well, we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to go to the gray outline. And we're going to put a drop shadow on that one as well. And by putting a drop shadow... Oh, I accidentally offset it. I'm going to drag the drop shadow down, and then there you go. And so what it did is it created the drop shadow, and it put the white outline on it, okay? And we'll click OK, or put the silver outline on it. So just in case you can't see how that works exactly, do that. Oops. Just like that. So right there, if I turn off the white layer, you can kind of see what's happening here. Except this says drop shadow, and it says the color is white. So click OK. There we go. So there's the problem. So if you change the order around, now you can see the white is there. But if I put the drop shadow first, it actually puts the drop shadow on top of the offset path, and the offset path gets shoved out to outline that drop shadow. And then what you end up with is this nice clean number that really separates from the background. Now, what's really cool here in Illustrator, I talk about this in every video, and I don't care if you think I'm saying it too much, but this is the coolest thing about Illustrator is I've now built myself a style. So I can use this style on anything. I can create a square and turn that square orange or red, and then I can drag this over here like that, and then I can click this and grab that graphic style, and bam, that graphic style is now on that. I could take the red out of this graphic, right? like this, and I can take and put that graphic style on there like that. Looks like we would have to adjust the miters to get the points back, but you can see now I've created a graphic style. Okay, I don't have to do it again, because what I can do now is take this guy and I can scale it down, right, like that, and then I can drop it over here, and that's graphic style 2, and I can call it sponsors. This isn't how I'm going to style the sponsors, but I'm just showing you your options. Okay. And now there it is. It's applied on the sponsors. Now, all of my outlines are different thickness, and so to create consistency, I always like my last outline to be the same. So I don't like a nice thin one over here and a big thick one over here. So at the very least, I'm going to go in and I'm going to adjust this one. For now, I'm going to do it by eye, and we're going to say, I don't know, 2 pixels. I'm guessing right now. Let's see what happens. So 4 pixels. We're going to get it close. 3.5 pixels. 3.25 pixels. No, let's try 3. Yep, 3.25. Like that. And that's pretty close. Probably could tweak it a little bit more, but you get the idea. And then there you're starting to get some consistency with your sponsors and numbers. And then same thing, I could apply it to the Beckett one, but I'm probably not going to. I'm really just trying to actually draw attention to the number right now and not so much the sponsors. So what I want to do is I'll strip that out. Actually, I'm going to go and right here, clear the appearance, and then just turn it black for now, and we'll come back and design on that here in just a little bit. Okay, but you can already see, like if I take this 99, which I can't really get to it easily because it's so many little pieces. Right, take that, and I just move that over there. Now I take this guy and I move it up here. You can already see that 99 is standing out much more than this one did, and the shape is better. It looks faster. It looks like it belongs on a dirt late model. It kind of hits all the marks that you want it to hit, right? Okay, let's go back to what we had. All right, so I'm going to go back now, and I'm going to start thinking about this graphic, and I kind of want to just keep it in the position that the designer had it. I'm not trying to redesign again. I'm not like trying to recreate the wheel here. I'm just thinking through some of the choices that were made. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually strip to base. I'm going to get this graphic down to base, and this is the cool thing, like especially about these starter packs. I like them most because they're actually incredibly easy to edit because they're just base. There's not a lot of outlines, right? There's maybe 1 or 2. So it's a good place to start and get your and be able to modify and get something really custom. Okay, so the same mistake was made here on this particular graphic. All right, I had to take a small break. Coming back to the graphic now. Okay, so the cool thing about these is that we can edit them, right? Now, every graphic doesn't give you that luxury, but graphics like this with a lot of straight lines give you a lot of license to make edits that don't really compromise the graphic. So the first thing that I'm noticing about the graphic is that it is skewed slightly different than the number. So I'm going to want to catch that up to what we got going on here. So I'm going to go -3, try that. It actually looks almost spot on. I'm looking at those gaps there, right? Because I think when I created this graphic here, I was thinking of a number trap, like something that loops around the number, right? And the number sits inside of it. And no matter how big or small it is, this is a number trap, right? You can kind of nestle the number right inside of that little spot there. And then have the graphic wrap around it, and then this little scallop comes up off the front fender. I'm pretty sure that's what I was thinking, something like that. But it doesn't even just have to be that. It could be a few different things. Like he had it all running behind the number, and that's fine too. Like those are the choices that you can make. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I think leave that like that for now. But some of the things that you could do with a graphic like this, because of the straight lines, is that it's like you're working with a piston. It's almost like, because I can select these points here, right? And because I'm down to base shape, I don't have all the outlines and everything. It's a lot easier to edit. So I can hold shift, right? And I can move it this way, or I can move it this way. And everything's staying pretty well in line without distorting, right? And so get back to base here. I'm going to take this outline off. I don't recommend that outline. And so now what I want to do is I want to start making this graphic work with my sponsors and numbers, right? So I never ever take a graphic out of an SRGFX pack and just use it out of the box as is. I cut them up. I put them in different places. Sometimes I'll cut them in half and use one half in one spot, one half in another. And it's fine to take them out of the box and use them as is if that's what's easy for you. But I think of all the graphics as solid starting points that will save you hours of time instead of creating from the very beginning and then trying to land on something that looks right and works. You have a solid starting point that you can slice up and use in a way and customize it. So that's how I'm always thinking of it. So I get people, they'll buy one of the packs and then they'll say like the graphic that you used in that portfolio isn't the graphic that's in the pack, and it is indeed the graphic that's in the pack, but I might have taken like this part here and put it here like this, and then taken this part here and put it down here like this, and then like ran a red line right here or something like that. I would do whatever it takes to make the graphic work for the specific canvas that I'm working on. I'm not going to ever probably just take it and then like just throw it on here like this and think I'm done. Like that's not how wrap design works. Okay, so going back to what he was trying to accomplish here, I'm going to stretch this just a little bit more. Okay, like that. Now I'll bring it down just a little bit more like that. And like that. Okay. And so the big thing here that I see that needs to be done is everything needs to kind of follow. And that's why we did the sponsors first, right? And so like if I do the sponsors last and I just throw my graphic on and then I do the sponsors last, I'm like, oh, I'm covering up my graphic. It doesn't look right. Now the spot that I thought was going to be visible, it's not even visible anymore. And it doesn't, like, it kind of loses its flow, right? And so I like to take things like this, right? And I might want to make a lot of space for that sponsor back there. So I'm going to move it down, right? And then I'm going to make it follow. It's going to follow the design. I might have to adjust a few points here and there to get to that result, right? Something like that. Move it a little bit more like that. Play with that a little more. But now you can see I got a nice start back here, right? And let's see. Maybe what I want to do is actually take this, because he's got it up, right? He's got a lot of black in the design. So I'm going to take it actually, and I'm going to shrink it down, because I want to get more black. I want to honor what it is he's doing. So I actually got to make more space here. So I'm going to take it, and I'm going to hold down Shift, because that's what's going to, if I hold Shift and move just these ones, it keeps it straight, right? See how I'm not, it's kind of like locks, let's see, locks in right there. Right now I can kind of move it where I want it. Okay. And I want it to be on the other side of the number. And then I can also take these guys here, and I'm just holding down Shift. So I could like select these ones and it's like, oh crap, I need this one too. Hold down Shift and then hold down Shift, just drag it over a little bit, right? Just like that. And then let's take a look, see how that's looking. Okay. Bring this over here like that, like that. You kind of see it's starting to work and flow together. Now, this graphic has kind of a lot going on in this particular spot here. Lots of points, ins and outs, and things like that. And so I don't like points to be hidden. I like them to be visible. They're made to make the graphic look aggressive. So I might pull that guy in, something like that, and then take this, that, all these guys. And hold down Shift. Pull this over. And now you can see we're kind of getting a whole different feel, but that feel is starting to lay out for a late model wrap even better. Now, one thing I don't like, and I just said this earlier in the video, was that I don't like my plastic being a different color than like the graphic that's running down to it. And I especially don't like it, like if this is going to be black down here, and then a red just kind of juts down there. Like, I actually don't want, it doesn't make sense for that to go off the canvas, right? That should stay on the canvas like that. It just really kind of like, as soon as you start doing stuff like this in the top and the bottom where things are just kind of touching in a weird way, it kind of doesn't make sense to the rest of the wrap. And so you almost got to just do something like that. Now, if the plastic was red, I would actually take this, bring it down, maybe even drag this guy down and like kind of see what I can come up with, see if I can come up with some other ideas, and then even like do something like add some points in like that and really kind of go for some aggressive stuff. But it's not. The plastic is white, so I'm not going to play that game and start adding stuff to it in that way. So what I am going to do, though, I'm going to keep tweaking on it just a little bit, make a little bit more space. I'm going to pull this down here like that, so I can pull this up because I want to get almost as much black into it as he had, right? Like that, and then again, I'm going to pull this point over like this. And now this point to me becomes irrelevant because it's a tiny little, it's like a toothpick coming off the back of the tire. And so it's almost like it doesn't really play a role. So I'm going to pull this guy out. I don't want to pull him off the back of the car. I want the point to be visible. But I'm going to pull that out there. And then I'm going to pull this guy in. But the nice thing is I could also pull him down. And it doesn't matter because it's in the wheel well and not visible. So even though I'm ruining the graphic in one way, you can't see it happening, right? It's kind of off the canvas. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead, click that, kind of take a look. So yeah, I think that that's starting to look pretty good, but it's not sacrificing the 99 at all. So now what I'm going to do is take this and I'm going to drag it down here. And all this is like experiment stuff. Like, it's not like, hey, I know exactly what I'm doing right now. It's like kind of play with it until I feel like it looks good enough, right? Okay, so then send that almost to the back. All right, so now we need our black graphic. But before we get to our black graphic, I want to talk about this graphic particular, right? So if I go red, black, white, black, it's just a lot of contrast happening in small areas, okay? And we don't really necessarily need that to be happening. We're really trying to keep that 99 and all the sponsors like super, you know, they're popping off the screen a lot, right? So I brought a little bit more red out the front. Okay, so what I want to do is now take this and let's say, no, I'm just going to make it really simple. And you can do it just like this. For now, at least. And let's see, I need black. Okay, like that. And it doesn't really matter that it's going everywhere over here. I can cut that up and clean it up later. But for now, it really just matters that it's hitting the canvas. And that's why I have this here, so that I kind of can reference what it is that I'm working on and if it's lining up correctly with the bodies of the car. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and then go over here and take a look at what I've got so far. Sometimes it takes a second to update. So you can see now I got these two caution marks because I got them linked, and then I just refresh that. Give it a second. Okay. Yes, I do want to do that. There we go. All right, so you can see we're starting to get a solid piece coming together here. And you'll notice, you see how that white back there, it kind of does, or in the plastic, it kind of does, it like breaks up the design, right? And so you can see, like if I turned off the shadows and light, and then, let's see, where are we at here? Shadows and light. Oh, apparently I didn't throw those in there. So I'm gonna lock that, okay. And if I was to turn it black, which I would never turn it all the way black, you can see how the design just flows better. But that's just not what we're working with. We're working with white plastic. So we got to kind of stick with what we got, let it be what it is. Okay. So one thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the red resolves right here and not over here, because if this comes over here, I feel inclined then that the nose should be red. It should be a continuation, right? So wherever that lands, we just wanted to make sure that it resolves before it gets to this point here, okay? So a couple little things I'm going to pay attention to. I'm going to hit the sponsors really quick. And so I have a different option here with the Drassen logo. I don't really feel like I need to hit it with all the stuff I did with this one, right? So for me on this particular logo, just hitting it with a little bit of red will really help, because again, the saturation values are still really similar with the black and the red, that this red doesn't take away from the black as long as I keep it on the inside. So I'm going to go 0.5 pixels, turn that red, turn the stroke red, right? And then just like that, now I have a little bit of red in there, and that's honestly enough. You really don't need to dress it up that much, because it's on a flat color, right? It's on white, and so you got text, and then it's like the best way or the most readable way for it to be designed is to have the least amount on it, because you already got that flat color going, and it already looks kind of speedy. It doesn't need a lot on it. We have a tendency in the racing graphic design world to think that everything needs to be decorated like this, and it really doesn't. We're overdoing it, and we're training ourselves, and we're training the race community to believe that like this is the way, right? It's a way, but it's not the only way. Go back and look at sign painters. Go back and look at race cars that are painted in the 80s. They look awesome, and they don't have this whole Christmas tree decoration thing going on their numbers just because everybody's doing it. So it's okay. It's like sometimes some cars you won't even need like an outline at all. Or you need one outline, or maybe like one or two, and the second one is only barely highlighting the first one, right? So it's kind of a minimalist approach. The idea is function, right? This is really here to separate us from this, so that when we see the 99, the red isn't breaking it all up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just real quick, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Beckett salvage. I probably could tweak on it for a while, but we don't need to have a really long video, so I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. Then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to drop it here, and then I'm going to grab Beckett and I'm going to do that. Now you can see it breaks it up quite a bit, the graphic, and things end up hidden, and some things seem like they're not even important anymore. So with this particular graphic, we can tweak some things, and so I could bring this up here, okay? And I don't want to bring it over to the top. I'm not trying to like wrap the top of the car right now. And then I could bring this forward as well. And with this particular graphic too, this point right here looks really cool. It's like kind of gives it like an aggressive look, but at the same time, it's kind of at this point not necessary. So I can just make this more solid and clean it up and do something like that. I don't know, maybe it's kind of adds a little noise, a little flare in there. Okay, I'll leave that there. And then I'm going to fix that miter on the B, because you can see here we got a flat spot on the B, right? So we'll go here, and we'll go to our offset path, and then you just see the miter limit is set to 4. I'll just crank it up to 100, and that should be good. Yep. And then we got to do the same thing on the other one. And I might be able to reduce, the drop shadows and things like that on this, so it doesn't take up so much space. In all honesty, it probably doesn't even need the drop shadow. It's probably enough to like not have that. Like be more like that. I would want to fill that in, so I would either want to do it manually, right? Put a little thing right here, go boop, 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 like that. Or I would want to go back and design my style in a way that fills that in so that my white's a little bit thicker. Now I am going to thicken up that silver just a little bit so it matches more the 99. So let's try, what was it, 3 pixels. Okay, we're going to go 3.5. That looks pretty close. So, and I could play with, let's see here. So it looks like this thing is not clean. Somehow the paths are not clean on it. So I'm going to go ahead and combine them, make a compound shape, and then reestablish that. Oh, the offset path was turned off. So you can see the red in there, and it comes in. And the size of the sponsor kind of doesn't really lend itself to adding that red in there because it starts closing gaps up, making things not readable. And so it's okay to like turn that off. It's always okay to like, sometimes you got to sacrifice a little bit just to be able to make sure things are readable. But overall, it does share the brand, and that's what's really important. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that guy white, I think, like that. Okay. But I think what I would want with that white like that is just to have this in there, encompassed in there, right? Or solid or whatever you want, however you want to say it. Move that back a little bit. That's pretty good. And I probably could play with this a little, maybe turn it black because it's not a part of the text. Or maybe put an outline on it, or there's probably a lot of different things I could do with that. I'm not going to mess with it because I just don't want to make the video super long messing with something like that. Okay, so now we got that in place. Again, I could, another thing I could do to make it less messy if I wanted to, is I could take this and I could take that final fill off, and I could take the final fill off of this guy like that. And I call that like a dry look. And I'm actually a big fan of that, like not having all the stuff all over the place on it, right? This would actually, I would take that 0.5 pixels, 0.25 pixels. Okay, so I just toned down that silver there just a little bit on that one. And now when I turn this white, and then turn this background the same color, right? It's just kind of gives it that really dry but like really strong look, right? And that's not really what the designer was after. It looks like he was trying to really kind of have a what I call a wet look where there's a lot more outlines on it. And it's okay to have that. I prefer this look a little bit. I don't know if I like all my points in here. I think there's too many things happening. If it was more of a lending itself to like a really aggressive, like noisy design, then I would kind of leave it and let it be what it is. But in this particular case, just seems like it's not lending itself to that at all. Something like that. And so at this point, I'm just kind of experimenting, right? Just kind of play with it, see what comes of just messing around with every little thing, right? So I think I'll go back to the way that it looked like he was trying to move forward with it, which was that, and then also that. And maybe it would make sense to take this, let's say this guy here, right? And bring it over here. And then have that white on there, but maybe not do the drop shadow, right? I don't think we need the drop shadow on that one. So something like that. But you can see now we're already drawing attention back out. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to go, what's it, 0.5? 3.5 pixels. Like that. Okay, so now all of our silvers match. But what I'll do is I'll tone it down so that it's not so intense, drawing your attention. But it is there, right? Okay, like that. And I'll click OK. All right, so now what I want to do here is I want to kind of bring the graphic in with everything I was doing with the number and the sponsors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this here and I'm going to add a silver outline to it. So I'm going to offset the path on it, but I don't want to do it in a way where it's around the whole thing. I just want it around the top and not the bottom. I don't want to create that separation between the black and the red. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this shape, find it first. Okay, and I'm going to put it behind the black, and then I'm going to duplicate that fill. Actually, I'll just make that fill the silver, and then I'll offset it. One pixel. like that, and click OK. And now you can see, so what's happening here is now the graphic has that silver and it runs in and then it wraps around and then it runs over here. And so what I'm going to do is turn up the miter limit so there's no flat spots, like that. Now everything kind of starts to work together. There's some cleanup work I would do here, filling in maybe that gap or this gap or whatever. Again, this sponsor is a placeholder. It's not really the legit sponsor of the car. Okay, so a couple more things I would experiment with. One, I don't think I'm digging exactly how thick that is. So I'm going to bring that down to 2 pixels. No, 2 pixels. Like that. And then have this offset 2.5, or let's try 3, like that. So something more like that. Okay, and now what you can kind of start doing is experimenting with the dimension, or the kind of graphic colors and how to get them to pop just a little bit more. So just because we're using red doesn't mean that we only have one option of red, right? And so I'm going to take that red. Actually, let me unlock it all. Okay, and I'm going to take this red here and I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to come up with a tone that's just a little darker, something more like that. Okay, and so now you can see when it's applied there, let's see, yeah, so we'll do that. And what I'll do is I'll throw a gradient in there like this. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to drag that down here, and then I'm going to take the bright red and I'm going to do this. Oops. Like that. And this just is going to add a little bit of dimension to the graphic. So now we're fading from a red to a bright red to a dark red. But what I want to do is bring in just a little bit more of the red. So I'm going to go ahead and copy my fill and turn that second fill red, just the base red, and then I'm going to offset this one. So effect, path, offset, and we'll go -2 pixels, see what that looks like. That. Now let's go -1.5 pixels, like that. Okay. And now you can see you have that red wrapping up around through the graphic like so. You got the gray running on the top. Okay, just like that. All right, and with this, I think the thing that I don't like here is this. And because this is my sponsor logo, I'm just going to delete it out. That makes it easy, right? I know it's like you won't always have that luxury depending on the design, the demands of the demands of the client. Okay. So now we got that. All right, so let's go ahead and save it and take a look. Sometimes it takes a second for it to reload after I save it. These 2 caution signs will show up. I'll come back over here for a second because the next thing we're going to talk about is this pattern. So there you go. Now you have that there. I think what I would do, just based on how this graphic is looking, I would actually take this guy and move him down. I don't always do that, but it just kind of gives a little bit of breathing space to that top part. Balances out between the red here and the red here. Gives it a little bit more balance. It's always about balance, really. I mean, you could say this is the way to design and it's the only way. But if you're not striking a balance, then you're only hurting yourself, really, because you're so stuck in a way of doing things. And I get there sometimes. So 2.5 pixels. Just as I see things that I don't like, I go back and tweak them. And I'll actually, honestly, I recommend like sometimes just walking away and then coming back. And you'll right away, your eye will see something that you just weren't seeing before that doesn't look right. So I'm bringing this down just a little bit. There we go. Stop that. Okay, like that. So I think that actually, it was just actually a little too much. And that's kind of a feel thing too, is like you kind of just have to like know what you're looking at and know when something's overdone. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to take this guy here. Okay. And I don't mind details like this. I create packs like this for those types of details, but what I don't like is when the detail is too big and it stands out too much. So like to me, this is too much. So what I'm going to do, because I like my details, again, I like them to be subtle, is I'm going to create 2 of these. I'm going to go transform, rotate 180. And what I want to do is actually kind of play with this a little bit. I'm going to turn it red, and I'm going to make a duplicate. And I'm going to put it in here. And because this is a horizontal pattern, you can't use it as a swatch because it'll pattern down, and you don't want to do that because it only goes horizontal. The pattern does, that is. It's not seamless top to bottom. It's only seamless left to right. Okay. So what I want to do here, I'm just going to play with this, kind of move it down. I'm going to grab this guy here, bring it up, and it's the top. Oh, I forgot to put that in the right layer. Graphics. Okay. So now I'm going to pop those 2 together. This is one compound shape. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this guy and mask them out. Make clipping mask, like that. And now you can see I got kind of a, oh, I didn't realize I did that. Give me 1 second here. Gotta at least be up to the top of that or it won't look right. Drag this guy up just a little bit more too. Like that. Okay, there we go. So now we got some of that going on, but what we can do is give it a little bit more flare and give it this kind of a gradient, right? And it'll kind of help it even be more subtle, which I'm a big fan of subtleties instead of things just being crazy. Okay, so like that, and then that fades it just a little bit more. Now, one thing I don't like is like it's going over top of my red outline. So I'm going to lock that guy, right? And then I'm going to duplicate this guy. So it can get a little bit meticulous. You got to be a little bit meticulous with this. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove this and this. And then I'm going to take my stroke and I'm going to turn that red. And I'm going to set the stroke to the inside. And what were we at? 3 pixels? 3 pixels. No, we were at 2. 2 pixels, like so. And so you can see what it does is now that red outline stays on top of that honeycomb, and it kind of just helps it disappear just a little bit, or it doesn't like the honeycomb doesn't overlap it and make it look a little bit crazy. So it just makes it look a little more seamless. And I'm gonna bring it down just a little more, so 1.75 pixels, like that. And then what I'm gonna do is take all of those, the whole graphic actually. And I'm going to group it together, so just so I'm not like separate, I'm not like grabbing a bunch of pieces all the time. Let me get rid of this guide here. G. Okay, so now I have that, and I could just move it down like that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is take this guy here, and I'm going to turn it black. And I want it to be in the black. Again, it's a horizontal pattern, and it doesn't matter that I line these up perfect if the seams are not in a visible spot, right? So it's not a big deal. Actually, you know what? To do it right, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to get rid of that, get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. And then I'm just going to align the gaps. And all you got to do is click one of these a second time, and then it asks you what you want your spacing to be over here, and you say 0, and then you click that, and it'll butt them all next to each other, and then you can group them together. And then bring this all together right up here, like this. And then I'm going to copy that. And this actually doesn't need to be in a mask. That actually looks kind of cool right there like that too. Honeycomb always looks good, especially when you're just adding it in as a subtlety. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in, like so. Now it's got to be over here, like that. Make sure it's behind the red. Okay. And then I'm going to mask it with the black. I know it gets intense, right? Because you're like trying to add these details in. Okay, so I'm going to mask it with the black. And that's just so that, let's change it to this color for now, just so that we know we can see what we're working with. Mask it with the black. So I duplicated the black, masked it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a gradient using that black. Oops. And then, oh, what am I doing here? Okay, so now I'm going to take this one and bring it down. And let's just say like, we'll just say like 80, like 80%, right? I'll bring these three together, the three pieces. Okay, and now I'll take my gradient and go this direction, right? Something like that. And let's take a look what we got. So I think that looks pretty good. I could also take it, go the opposite direction. Like that. So it's like black to fading to gray. And the other option I could do too is where this is not actually black, it's more of a gray. And then it's really dark up here. So like it kind of like adds a dimension to everything. So like do this. Like that. No, like this. So now you can see we're kind of like fading down to a gray color. Something like that. And then you can play with this guy here. See how it kind of makes it disappear like that. And even though that's gray, you can kind of see his colors up here are gray, especially his honeycomb. But I would prefer them to be more subtle and less of a like really intense and big and a lot of contrast. You know, you just kind of want to add those things in with just a little subtlety in there, and then it kind of looks more like art and less like clip art, right? Okay, so going to go ahead. I like that. And I'm going to hide this. And I'm going to save it. And actually, I'm going to go back. So before I save it, because that save and that save thing is taking so long, I don't want to keep going back and forth. So now what I'm going to do, because I have the luxury to do it. Again, this isn't a part of the original design, but what we did is we solidified the graphic, got the gray in there a little bit. There's other things you can do to play with it more and really get more out of it if you want to. I'm always kind of leaning more towards simple. Even if my graphic is really complex, I'm thinking along the lines of like, okay, it's complex, but how do we like dull the colors out so that like the number really pops? So maybe my graphic is like really like crazy, but it's like 2 or 3 colors that are all really close to each other. So then my number stands out as like yellow or white or whatever. Okay, so you could do that where you put the drop shadow there, and then you bring it forward, and then you take the offset path off of it like that, and then you really crank down the opacity, and now you can see you have the shadow in here a little bit and over here a little bit. It's not something I necessarily recommend. Okay, but once you get it here, so we got our number solid, it's nice and readable. Let me zoom out so you can see. You can see the sponsor is nice and readable. Once you get it to that space where it's starting to look like that and everything's pretty crisp, then you can start thinking about adding in your sponsor, your sorry, your contingency decals and things like that. And then maybe like resize this just a little bit, play with that, and even this guy down here can kind of just start putting things in place in a way that kind of makes the whole thing just come together, because the expectation with the dirt late models is that they're full of decals and graphics and things, and sometimes you can get away with a design that's not quite as busy or got as much going on, but people are used to seeing them a certain way, and so when they don't see them that way, those cars stand out, not necessarily in a great way, and more of a negative way, right? So I'm just kind of taking a luxury here with the Dirt Defender logo. I've never seen it on a car like this, but you know, imagine it any logo. Imagine it one of the template logos that I have or whatever, right? So you always see that back quarter panel though filled up with a sponsor. Same here with this Can-Am. So this Can-Am's a nice long logo. You could like fill up the bottom of the quarter panel, something like that. Just thinking through the design from beginning to end and making sure that everything's readable. And you might say like, oh man, that like there's just, it looks kind of barren right here. It doesn't look like it has a lot going on. But the reality is that on the track, that car is actually going to look really good. It's going to look really crisp. That number is going to be really readable. Everything's going to really stand out pretty well. The only other thing that I would add, and I'm not going to do it in the videos, I would probably add a resolution here on the nose. Some kind of red graphic coming down, a little black coming in, just kind of like resolves everything in a final way that makes it all look like it has come together. You can even do that with like, you know, something as simple as this guy here. Actually, let's just take that. So something like that, or making it all black or something, you know, yeah, I would want to tweak on it. I would want to play with it. But you could definitely see the graphic steps down here. So somewhere in here, it kind of like steps down again or something like that. So just kind of think it through how you want that to look. That doesn't look normal there, that little black spot. So I'm just going to take that all out of there. And I would tweak on all of this a lot more. I would probably perfect the way I did this texture and some of the other things, maybe to close up some gaps and things like that. There's always room to tweak on it, make it a little bit better. But you can see how we've taken this and made it a really, really solid piece just by following a few basic rules related to design. Wasn't trying to recreate it, wasn't trying to get more creative with it, just wanted to take it for what it was and make the most out of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save, and I'm gonna hide that, then I'll hit save, and I'm gonna turn on my shadow layers. That, and you can see once the shadow layers are on, and then I'll wait for these two here. They'll activate here in a second. Sometimes it just takes a minute. See, it's saving here. Oh, unexpected errors. I'll guarantee that unexpected error is probably related to that pattern. There's probably some cleanup work or some odd shapes in there that needed to be fixed or worked on. Give it just a second here. And there you go. And then you can come over here, and again, you could, you know, once you kind of have your car established, then I like to go back to the client and like present like, hey, if you don't have your plastic on yet, like maybe turn your plastic red, right? Because that kind of just sets the whole thing off right there. Now it like looks like a really unified piece just by making that one change. Or maybe like you know, take your wheel covers and let's turn your wheel covers black, right? And so again, right away it kind of sets the whole piece off just by making a couple little tweaks to it. So there you go. So it came a long way from right here, from what we had here, to landing over here on this. And again, I broke some of his design rules. He had an all white car. I turned the plastic red. Again, I would definitely bring in something right here. Even if I brought in like a sponsor right here or something, it just completes the look. Maybe a sponsor up here on the spoiler or something like that. But so that concludes this video. I hope you guys find it useful. If you have any questions, you can always hit us up at srgfx.com/support. Join the Facebook group. We love giving feedback. I'll make more and more videos as people submit cars. I'll just pick them out randomly. I don't take requests. If you request that I make a video, I'm not going to pick your car. So just post it in the group, and if I see it and it's something I feel like will make a good video, I'll be happy to go through and do what I just did here. So you guys have a good weekend.